Welcome everybody to the first of our series of topic conferences around retention of the workforce in social care. Today's session is going to be around understanding why people decide to leave us and the cost of turnover. And the aims of today's session is to help you calculate the staff turnover figure, understand why people decide to leave, understanding the importance of employee feedback and how to capture that, some takeaway ideas on how to better facilitate employee feedback sessions using effective engagement strategies, and I'd hope by the end of this session you'll be confident in planning an evidence-based retention strategy within your organisation. So, some hard-hitting statistics to start the session. As you'll see from this slide, the national turnover rate within social care is currently at 30.4%. In the East Midlands, it's slightly higher at 34.2%, but in Leicestershire, you can see that we are currently at 38.6%, which is equates to around 5,600 leavers in any 1 year. Of those leavers, we can see nationally that 67% of those remain in the sector. East Midlands, 67%, and Leicestershire lower at 63%. And although it's good to retain those leavers in the sector, we want to make every effort where we can to ensure that we keep these people within our organisations. So retention affects recruitment and also plays a massive part in the cost to your business. So if you think about how much it costs to onboard somebody into your organisation, it is in the region of roughly £700, and that includes the advertising costs, the onboarding costs, the time staff to interview and pre-screen those staff, the training costs, the cost of DBSs, etc., all comes up to £700 per employee. So even if you had 10 leavers within your organisation in 1 year, that's a substantial cost of £7,000. So spending time ensuring that your recruitment process is robust will save you time, money and resource. And new staff who are aware of the expectations, highs and lows of the job will be more likely to stay. Ensuring job descriptions and company culture are clear from the beginning is really important and will enable a really smooth transition during the onboarding process. So we all know that a stable workforce creates a really positive culture. So communicate your visions, your values through that whole candidate journey, which we spoke about before. So that includes your adverts, your job description, and during the interview. It's really important to be honest and transparent of the expectations, so both highs and lows. So we reduce that turnover within the first 6 months, and we improve the performance of recruitment and retention by tracking return on investment. And you can find out more about return on investment and also a tool on how to capture return on investment on our members area of the website. So after sort of doing lots of consultations with the external market employers, it's come to my attention that not all of you know how to work out your staff turnover rate. Why it's really important to know this is that you can compare staff turnover year on year to see whether it's going up or down, so you know what you're doing right and what you can improve on. It looks at patterns and reasons why people decide to leave, and a really good baseline figure to aim towards is having under 20% staff turnover as a benchmark. So how you work your staff turnover out is by the total number of leavers in any 1 year, divide that figure by the average number of employees in a year, and then times that by 100, and that will give you your turnover rate in a percentage. So total number of leavers in a year, simple to work out. You just add up how many people have left within that year. The average number of employees in a year, how you would work that out is every month, on the same day every month, calculate how many people you have working within your organisation at that time. So do that for January, February, March, April, all the way through to December, and then add all of those figures up. So to give you an example then, if I've added all those months figures up and I've come to 2,406, divide that by 12 and it will give me a figure of 200.5, and that is the average number of employees for that year. If I've had 16 staff leave within that year, how I would calculate that staff turnover is your total number of leavers for the year, which is 16, divide that number by the average number of employees for the year, which is 200.5, sorry, which equals 0.8. Times that figure by 100, which gives you 8%. If any of you are struggling to work out your turnover and would like some support with this, please do reach out to the team and we can help you with putting that figure together. Understanding why people decide to leave, there's 4 key factors to consider here. First of all, what we see as a trend within social care is that we see a high turnover of employees leave within the first 6 months of employment, which would indicate to us that the expectations of the role wasn't clearly set out at recruitment process. So it's really important, going back to the previous slide, that we consider having those robust recruitment processes and conversations that we are telling people an accurate account of what the job actually entails. So don't be scared to talk about their expectations of working unsociable hours. There will be times where you'll be needing to work weekends, bank holidays. It's not just a 9-to-5 job. You will be asked to work as early as 7 o'clock in the morning and maybe as late as 10, 11 o'clock. And there may be some nights involved in that too. Making sure that you're having these conversations right at the beginning is going to ensure that you have a lower turnover within the first 6 months. The other reasons why people decide to leave is 1, suitability to the role, 2, changes in personal circumstances, and 3, unsatisfied employees. And as an employer, it's really important for you to understand what you can and can't control when looking at when people decide to leave. Those factors that you have some control over should be implemented, and that will help you save time, money, and resource. So the first one we want to get into is suitability for the role. And we've mentioned this in previous topic conferences when we've talked about recruitment. But this can be controlled by adopting a really robust recruitment process and having that level of understanding and those expectations. So making sure that you have your values-based recruitment methodologies in place is going to really help lower that turnover in organisations, and research does show that. So assessing candidates' values against their own organisational values, so looking at things like patience, honesty, flexibility, the ability to empower others, tolerance, etc. And some of those key values can be found in the purple box. Values-based interview questions will help to ensure that you recruit people that have the right skills, behaviours and attitudes towards the workplace. For more information about values-based recruitment, head over to our members area of the website, where we have some templates and some additional information about that on there for you. Being transparent about expectations I've just touched upon is being really clear throughout the recruitment process of those expectations, and that's right from sort of the advert through to the interview and onboarding. And it's also important to listen to the people that you're onboarding as well, because they have expectations too. Some examples will be payments are made accurately and on time, and they'll be expecting some training and development and strong leadership. So expectations work both ways. Personal circumstances. So this is the area that you as an employee will have the least control over, but there are some creative ways that you may be able to support people through these challenging times. And ultimately, this will help you retain staff that are really high performance when their personal circumstances change. And some examples of key issues that employees may be facing is issues around childcare, finances, their transport situation may change, family and relationship breakdowns, they may have issues with their health or health of a family member, or they may be just going back into education. So if we're considering how we may be able to support those people and how we can retain them at the same time, it's really important to listen to staff and work with them to overcome personal issues. If they're really high performers, why not consider just on an interim basis reducing their hours? Or if they're going back into education and again they're really high performers, why not offer them a bank contract, so when other people within your workforce are maybe ill or absent because of annual leave, you have that bank of staff that you know are reliable, and that will also help you reduce your agency spend. There are some of those examples above that you're not going to be able to help with as a manager, but you may be able to signpost them to services relating to maybe financial or family concerns, and just showing that commitment to supporting them through any personal issues really shows how much you value them as an employee. In terms of transport, maybe you could think about if, for instance, somebody's having an issue with their car, or maybe partnering them up with other car drivers for a set period of time to give them a chance to resolve that transport issue. I think we're in a position where we've got a limited candidate pool in Leicestershire, and it's really important to try and retain high performers where you can. Unsatisfied staff. So this one is one that you are going to be able to have most control over, and you can have the greatest impact on this. And you may find out about staff feeling unsatisfied by a variety of different ways. Maybe it would be through a one-to-one or a supervision, or maybe even a team meeting. Or maybe you overhear a conversation between colleagues, or you can see that there's a change in somebody's attitude, performance, or timekeeping. Having open, regular and transparent communication and dealing with the issues that your staff may be experiencing is going to ultimately help keep your staff members happy and engaged, and be able to retain them. So listening to your staff using effective engagement strategies. Listening to your staff is really important because it's going to help you identify concerns and issues early on, so you can nip them in the bud before they decide to leave or the situation escalates. You can establish an evidence base to plan retention strategies with high return on investment. Quite often you'll get really fresh ideas and perspectives from staff across your services that will help you to improve as a business. It also creates a positive working culture where there's transparency and openness and trust, which will make your staff feel valued. So there's a variety of different ways to engage with staff and gather feedback. There are 4 methods that we've decided to explore in today's session, and those are staff surveys, staff supervisions and meetings, focus groups and team meetings, and staff satisfaction events. And a top tip for you really is to look at this as not just one size fits all. You may need to look at adopting a variety of different methods and a combination of these feedback methods to make it as inclusive as possible, and to give you a higher number of people that complete and get involved with staff feedback. So the first one we want to talk about is staff surveys, and it really is much more than just a paperwork exercise. And the reasons why staff surveys are worth the investment is that you gather lots of information quickly. Doing it confidentially means that you can gather more reliable feedback compared to in-person methods. It can be done on or offline, so you could do postal surveys, or you could ask people to print surveys off and put them in a box, and it can be done at the same time. You can gather data in a format that is easy to interpret, so you can make those changes, identify what people aren't happy with, and make those changes. You can track trends over time, so if you do this year on year, you can see what you're doing well and what you're not doing so well. You can use the data to measure success of new strategies that you may have implemented. And you can also target particular sections of your workforce, so new starters or BAME staff, or maybe bank staff, to see how a particular section of the workforce is feeling. It's really worthwhile, and surveys need to be designed and delivered effectively. So we've asked Joe Miller from our Head of Business Intelligence to deliver some slides about the Leicestershire County Council staff survey that is done on a biannual basis. The background of that is it's been in circulation for a number of years, and it's a way to build trust and demonstrate commitment from respondents and managers. And it's really important that for Leicestershire County Council to be comfortable with the feedback and acknowledge areas of improvement. So starting small if you need to. There are concerns about being anonymous, just making sure that you are telling your workforce that it is completely anonymous to complete this, and that they will not be identified through the answers that they give. Looking at the sort of views which require stability. So in terms of hard for consistent survey, hard for consistent survey, don't try and do too much with your staff survey. Power in comparability over time between services and staff group. The temptation to keep changing it, you're going to get different results every year if you keep changing it. So try and stick to using the same survey each year. Try and keep your survey condensed, so fewer survey questions are perfect, which will help you manage the imperfections. And also have a gatekeeper for your survey. Use other surveys and engagement to augment insight and probe issues if you can. So not one survey solution. Don't be tempted to add a question here or there. And also levers and new starter surveys and conversations, or maybe surveys around coronavirus and the well-being that they are experiencing around coronavirus might be a good idea as well. So you can do surveys around different topics. In regards to designing your survey, you need to try and cover most key important issues only. So, for example, within the Leicestershire County Council survey, there are 6 questions in regards to the employer, so Leicestershire County Council. There are 5 questions in regards to my manager. there are 11 questions about how I'm feeling about my job. So keeping questions around each specific area. We rationalise the questions over the year, so data volume versus respondent rate. And no questions are compulsory to answer, so they can skip questions if they don't know or it's not applicable to them. Similar question structures are really important where possible, so using a scale point, which can be agree, disagree statements. So, for example, I believe the council is a good employer. My line manager keeps me well informed, and I feel valued for the work that I do. And you can have scale points from agree, strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Feel free to put text questions in there too, but manage the expectations. So I would put a word count or maybe a character count in there, so you're not getting verse and line for that within those sections. So another example on how you could do that is how you heard about the survey and why you're completing it, or how would you improve communications within your organisation, or if you could improve one thing or change one thing, what would it be? The About You demographics question is really trying to understand any sort of equalities issues, and can be included in sort of departments or services, or where they're based, whether they're office based or out in the community, or whether it's a manager or if it's a care professional, and the length of service that somebody may have. Going on to sort of participation then, so it's really important at all stages of a staff survey to reassure people that it's going to be completely anonymous. So maybe a statement to put into the surveys: your responses will be treated as confidential, your individual responses will not be passed on to your managers, and the data will be aggregated before publishing, so your responses will not be identifiable. Making sure that your survey tool provides full anonymity. Explain why people should complete the survey, so why it matters to you, how it will be used. Remind people of previous actions as a result of the feedback that you may have got the year before. Explain how they can fill it in, so provide alternatives, so you can have it online or a paper-based one. If you're doing it online, make sure that it's mobile friendly, because a lot of people do complete their surveys online. The long field work window, so in terms of this, we would suggest that you have a 2-month period, and within that 2-month period where the survey is open, I would be reminding people and using promotion and posters, etc., to try and get as much inclusion in the survey as possible, to ramp up your completion rates. The more people that you hear from, the more accurate that you're going to get feedback. Managers are given daily updates, or so you could remind team leaders and seniors, and have a healthy competition between them to see how many numbers they can get completed within their teams. Results and actions. So you can have this as sophisticated or as simple as you want. Within Leicestershire County Council, they have an automated dashboard reporting system which sort of does all the work for you, but you can do it as simple infographics and percentages if you like, and you can post the results in newsletters, or you could have it as posters of "you said we did this well," or "we're looking to improve this." Protect so anonymous and confidence is everything in terms of staff surveys. Don't show results that are split by demographics, as people may be able to be identified. Consider who sees the comments in full. So you might not want to show the whole of your staff team all of the comments that came in, but you could sort of report on key themes that you're hearing. You need to make sure that the raw data is held by only the managers or the people that are analysing that data, and is not shared more widely. Use the results to prompt discussions with your team. So the survey will tell you what's not and why. Use as a resource the evidence to change. So you said we did is a really good way to do that, or communicate why some things can't change. So for instance, if somebody has said that they haven't got access to car parking, you can't build the car park bigger, for instance, and you need to say that you've heard what their complaints are, but there's nothing that you can do about it. So be transparent with the results, and share those results in an aggregated way, and give yourself enough time to action the changes between the surveys. So the lessons learned in terms of Leicestershire County Council is start small, build the trust with your workforce, win hearts and minds, have a gatekeeper, keep it consistent, be transparent, and action and communicate the changes that you're wanting to make from that, and give yourself enough time to implement those changes. So just to recap then, using staff supervision as well to reduce turnover. So you should be having regular supervisions with your staff, and it's really important to find a really quiet environment where staff feel relaxed and the conversation can't be overheard, and having a supervision template to structure that conversation and ask those relevant questions around how they're feeling to ensure all important topics are covered is really important. Keep a record of supervisions, including the agreed actions from both parties, and send a copy of that supervision to the staff member. A top tip from us really is to increase the supervisions for new staff or staff that are experiencing issues, to ensure that they feel more supported and you are able to offer them the additional support they may need. Really important, having an open door culture throughout your organisation is going to ensure staff feel comfortable raising issues or concerns at any time. The next thing we're going to be talking about is having focus group sessions for employee feedback. So what are focus group sessions? They're facilitated discussions where staff are encouraged to speak openly, can be a standalone event or take part of a team meeting, and can be targeted at specific groups of staff, e.g. bank staff, BAME staff, or even new starters. And feedback can be recorded as anonymous and confidential to ensure staff feel comfortable being open and honest. And you can have these sessions after your staff survey, where you've identified maybe an area where lots of your workforce have identified issues within, and you can sort of have open and honest and transparent conversations to get more information about those specific issues. So how would you describe your work-life balance? Looking back on your week, is there anything that you could have done better? And how do you like to be rewarded for going above and beyond? Those are all types of questions that you could be asking in a focus group session. The benefits of group sessions is, like I said, it generates that discussion. It gives your workforce an opportunity to offer their input in a really safe environment with support from their colleagues. And unlike a survey, you can ask follow-up questions to better understand what it is that they're trying to say. It opens up the floor to suggestions from other staff on issues raised as well. And it creates a culture of feedback, which is really healthy for a business and staff. Top tips for effective focus groups is assign a facilitator to lead the meeting and record feedback anonymously, of course. And this doesn't need to be a member, a staff, a management member of staff. It can be a care professional who gets on really well with the people within the staff team. Ensure the group is made up of staff who get on well, so they are likely to be more comfortable talking openly with each other, and hold the meeting in a really quiet space where conversation can't be overheard. Staff satisfaction events is another way to get feedback from your workforce. So what is a staff satisfaction event? It's almost like an employee engagement event where staff can come together to give feedback to managers and share ideas for improvement as a whole. So it's a whole staff team, and often including team building activities and opportunities to get to know each other better. Bring some fun into the day. You can focus on specific themes, from staff well-being or exploring, organisational values, or even culture mapping. And it takes place as part of a paid working day, so staff can split into groups to ensure the service delivery is not disrupted. So what are the benefits of staff satisfaction events? Again, it creates a safe environment for staff to openly discuss those topics that can be harder to talk about in a normal working environment. And it explores themes prioritised as a result of the staff survey or supervision. So, for example, if the survey results show that a lot of staff are struggling with stress, can you use a staff satisfaction event to find out more and gather suggestions for improvements? Strengthen working relationships within your team. It demonstrates your commitment to your staff by dedicating a day or even half a day for them to have their views heard. And these events can be tied into staff recognition activities. For example, maybe you could incorporate an award ceremony or a thank you presentation as well. It's important to remember to record the findings of each event or each activity that you're doing and agree actions. So send up a follow-up communication to staff to explain how you're going to be addressing the concerns and suggestions that they've raised. So you've got the results. So to recap, what we've learned today is how to work out your turnover rate. We've explored why people decide to leave, and we've also explored how to gather feedback from your workforce. So, like I said at the beginning of this webinar, we will be having a series of conferences around retention because the book doesn't stop there. We need to, in future conferences, we're going to be talking about how to build a positive working culture, leadership skills to boost retention, boosting employer reputation through job boards and reviews, and top strategies for reducing staff turnover. So please do attend future webinars to learn more about retention. As part of this series of retention webinars and topic conferences, we have put a resource together to support you in putting together your own staff survey, and that can be found on the members area of our website, which will go into a bit more detail about what sort of questions you may want to ask within your survey and how to open and close the survey. So please head over to the members area of the website to find more about that. Thank you very much for attending and have a good day.